Welcome to the Happy Rebel podcast, where we explore the realms of finding your calling, living your values, and doing the work of self-healing. Through candid conversations with fellow seekers, we'll uncover ideas and concepts that challenge, expand, and empower us to embrace our authentic selves and live with intention. Hi there, I'm Kelly Street, owner of Happy Rebel and your guide on this journey. I'm known for my insatiable curiosity and tendency for pushing boundaries. I've always been a challenger, eager to question the status quo and explore the uncharted territories of personal growth. So join me as we navigate the twists and turns of life's journey, seeking out the wisdom and insights that illuminate our path towards fulfillment and rebellion against the ordinary. Before we get started, I want to remind you to connect with me on Instagram at Happy Rebel, where you can ask questions and share your thoughts. Remember, you are never alone on your path to becoming a happy rebel. This is the Happy Rebel Podcast. Let's take a moment to pause together and ground ourselves in the present as we set intentions for the new year. Start by closing your eyes if it's safe to do so, or softening your gaze. Take a deep breath in through your nose, filling your lungs completely. Hold it for a moment. And now, slowly exhale through your mouth. As you breathe, visualize a small, warm light at the center of your chest. This light represents your intentions, your hopes, and your dreams for 2025. With each inhale, imagine it growing brighter. With each exhale, feel it radiating warmth and possibility. Let's do that again. Inhale deeply, feeling your chest and belly rise, allowing that light to grow brighter and stronger, and then release, letting go of anything you no longer want or need. Take one more deep breath, and as you exhale, silently affirm to yourself, I am open to growth, change, and new beginnings. When you're ready, gently open your eyes or come back to this moment, carrying a sense of calm and clarity into the rest of your day. Welcome! Happy New Year! It's 2025. We're now, as you're listening to this, probably a week or who knows how much further into 2025. And before we go forward, of course, I want to look back and kind of talk about for a moment what happened in 2024. It's always good to look backwards and see where you've been in order to be able to see where you're going. And one of the things that I just want to call out, I know about 50% of people listen to the podcast and 50% watch on YouTube. And so if you are watching on YouTube, you can see that the background is very different. I turned my computer around. And so now you can see all of the mess or organized chaos that is my Happy Rebel warehouse. So you're welcome. And if you are just listening to the podcast, I'm sorry, that's boring, but hey, maybe go check it out on YouTube and just see at Happy Rebel on YouTube and see what the warehouse looks like, unless you know because you see it on Instagram. Anyway, speaking of new perspectives, actually, speaking of looking at what's behind us, that's where I was going with that. I just want to look back for a moment on 2024. And I don't know about all of you personally, but 2024 was a really big growth and resilience year for me. It was a year that challenged me in ways that I didn't anticipate, in particular, balancing my professional and personal life and balancing Happy Rebel with my therapy practice, with my regular life, and letting myself get to the point where I got burned out. And so then 2024 showed me the importance of rest and having compassion for myself and working on letting go of the idea of perfection. That was really one of my biggest takeaways of 2024, was embracing that messy middle and that done is better than perfect sometimes. And that every step that we take, even when it's those hard ones, they're all moving us forward. And so doing a little bit at a time is better than doing nothing at all. But also sometimes you need to do nothing at all. And that is progress. So I'm really, really grateful for the opportunities that I had to deepen my personal and professional work, the ways that I was able to connect with others and keep showing up, even when it wasn't easy. And one of those ways that I feel like I was really able to show up even when it was really hard was on this podcast. Because if you have been a listener for the last year, I've talked not quite ad nauseum yet about how much anxiety I sometimes have that comes with me showing up. And by showing up, I mean coming on the podcast and talking, posting on social media. Like there's just this fear of vulnerability, fear of peeling the curtains back and rejection that continues to show up. Even a year into doing this, I have a little bit of nausea that shows up for me every time I hit publish on a podcast episode. So I'm really grateful for that. And also it sucks and I'm done with it, but apparently I'm not done with it because it's still happening. Back on 2024, here's what happened to me in the last year. I filled up my therapy practice. Yay. I went on 3 retreats. Yay. One retreat was an ayahuasca retreat in Mexico. One retreat was a therapy training in Asheville. And one was my much talked about darkness retreat. I also did one embryo transfer as far as IVF goes. And then with IVF, 2 egg retrievals. Those were some of the more challenging points of my year. I also, of course, launched this podcast. And then the most significant, which feels crazy, the most significant news in light of all of the other stuff that I've done, but at least it's currently the most significant news, is that I did end up getting a contract signed with a publisher for my book that I have talked about on here. And that is one of the most significant, just because writing a book and having a book published has been a dream of mine since I was in 5th grade. And really in 5th grade is when I discovered journaling and writing and poetry and all of these different ways of expressing myself through words, through the written word. Because up to that point, I had known a lot of reading. I had known a lot of expressing myself verbally, but I hadn't really known this cathartic, let me get everything out onto a piece of paper where I see it, where it's right in front of me, where it's tangible. And there was something so powerful about learning that. So that is the most exciting thing to come out of my 2024. All the good, all the messy, all the hard. And I would just love to know what came out of 2024 for you. And one of the things that I think could be really helpful if you haven't done this already is write a list or go month by month. This is something I did last year with a couple girlfriends of mine. Is I went through my calendar, I went through my memories, my photos, and each month I would write a little paragraph about what happened. And it really allowed me to reconnect with, wow, I've been through a lot. A lot has happened in the last year. A lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of in-betweens. Or maybe your reflection would be, wow, I had a really gentle year. How incredible is that? That I had a year to just feel into deepening relationship with myself, relationship with others, and it wasn't chaotic or crazy. That could be really amazing too. But just a little practice you could do if you have an interest in how you're really transitioning from one year to the next in your mindset and in your way that you do things. So really the main thing that I want to talk about today is intentions, resolutions, like how do we mark that a year has passed? How do we mark these rituals or this concept of it's a new year? By doing something for ourselves or creating some sort of a space for what we want to bring in the next calendar year. And so for me, what I do is I set intentions over the idea of resolutions. Maybe this is a complete BS difference, but I think for me, an intention really instead of a resolution. A resolution is like, I'm going to do this thing. This thing has to happen. I have to lose 5 pounds in 30 days. I have to work out every day for, 6 months, whatever it might be. An intention is really instead a focus on the why, the idea, the feeling, the concept behind the thing that you want. So it's a little bit more about calling an idea or a concept in than it is necessarily about like this exact accomplishment. So I hope to kind of show you how that works. I'll talk about a couple of my intentions for this year. Another thing that I usually do is I will create a word for the year. And that word kind of takes my intentions or my goals, things that I would like to have happen in the next year, and it really distills them into this singular focus. And I'll usually like make a little bracelet out of it with word beads, or last year with my friend Allie, I made a mug and that had my word on it. And it was just this like really helpful reminder, because every time I drink out of that mug, I see that my word for the year was creation. I was all about creating in my mind. And so I have this tangible little aspect for the word. The thing with it being, for me, a week into 2025, I don't have a word yet. I don't know what I have distilled everything down into. I have a few possibilities, but what I have so far are intentions. And honestly, the word often comes to me weeks or about a month into the year. So I'm not pushing it. I'm letting the word come to me. So we'll see what happens. And I'll share the word with you when it comes across my plate. So for 2025, I just want to share a couple of my intentions and the kind of depth and meaning behind them. So one, kind of, I guess, a big one, the biggest one, is that I've talked about a little bit, is in 2025, I want to conclude my journey with IVF. It's been a heck of a long time, 9 years, I guess, since I first was told that I would need to do IVF to have a baby and to have a biological child, I should say. And that 9-year path has been really long, and I'm not ready to be done. I'm also ready to be done. And we know what that looks like moving forward. I'm not really going to talk about it on here. It's not really for public consumption at this point. But I will just say that in 2025, I hope to conclude that journey, whether or not there is a live human baby that is mine at the end of it. And as part of that process, I want to come to a place of emotional acceptance and just really being open to whatever that outcome is. So that is one intention for 2025. Another intention is to complete my licensed professional counselor supervision hours. So I'm a couple months away, if that, hopefully, from getting all of those hours done. And that means that I will accomplish this huge professional milestone. It means that I will be completely independent in my practice, which I sort of already am, but I'm kind of operating under somebody else's license a bit, and still having that learning and that mentorship. And I'm just really excited to have that be done and dusted. Kind of like the IVF thing. It has been a long process, from start of going to school until now. It'll be about 5 years of this entire process. And I'm just super ready to be done, super ready to check that box, complete that, those arbitrary sort of sometimes feeling things for the state of Minnesota, and ready to be just, fly free little bird and on my own. So that is another one of my intentions for the year. Another intention I have, in particular as it relates to Happy Rebel, is that I want to be more consistent. I want to be more consistent with podcasting and posting and engagement with everybody, because I think one of the things that feels really important to me with this being an intention for me is that I really want to create an intentional relationship with everyone who engages with Happy Rebel. I want them to know that I'm here, that I'm listening, that I see you, and that you taking part in this experience of listening and engaging, I want you to know that it matters. And to me, showing up and being present and engaged is one way that you show people that they matter and that this thing, this idea matters to you. So I would really like to be more consistent. I don't exactly have an idea of what that looks like yet. It's something I hope to work on in the next couple of weeks, is getting a calendar, getting something that I can be more consistent with. One of my roadblocks to that, of course, is always my sharing anxiety and my desire to, instead of turning outward and sharing things online or sharing things with other people, even friends, my desire to turn inward and to become introverted, to hide, to not talk about or share or engage with my vulnerabilities and have people see that. So that is one of my intentions for the year. I have a bunch of others. I might be sharing more of them in the future, but they're mostly kind of personal things to me or in my life and maybe less interesting. So that's just a little bit about how to set yourself up for positive mental mindset success in creating goals or creating what you want to bring in for the next year. I think the other part that I didn't say about intentions over resolutions is that I am definitely in kind of the manifester camp, and the camp of you really bring into your life the things that you think about, that you spend a lot of time and energy on. And that can be negative things, but it can also be positive things. Now, I'm not saying that you like make yourself sick. I mean, sometimes we do. That's the thing. Sometimes we do make ourselves sick. But I'm not saying that you are giving yourself a particular disease or anything. But I am saying that when it comes to the things that we want out of life, you can say, I want to manifest to be so ridiculous. I want to manifest a red Porsche. I want to have a brand new red Porsche convertible, and I'm going to manifest that in my life. But then you actually do nothing to plant those seeds or to make that happen. And like, you're not, going after saving money for it. You're not going after trying to get a different job where you earn more income. You're not doing any of the things that you could possibly do. You're just like sitting there going, red Porsche, red convertible. I want that. And to me, when you set an intention for the year, that is you telling whatever higher power you go to that, hey, I want to bring this thing into my life, this thing, this idea, this goal. I want to bring this to life. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the work to see if I can try to make that happen. You help clear roadblocks out of my way. And so one of the ways that I did that last year is that at the beginning of last year, I set an intention that by the end of the year, I would either have a publisher or I would self-publish my book. And I did the work to help make that happen. I created a book proposal. I sent it out to countless publishers and agents and spent 6 months hearing crickets and getting no response and nothing back. And then finally in late September, late September, I did hear back. And yet when I heard back, I was fully in this energy of, if this doesn't work out by the end of the year, I'm going to self-publish, or I'm going to be ready to self-publish in 2025. So it wasn't just that I had this idea or this desire for something to happen. It was that I was actually doing the work along with it to help that to happen. So that was just another little thought or idea that I wanted to share. I would love to know, besides what you got up to in 2024 and kind of what your like list that you're proud of yourself and that you accomplished is, or things that happened. You don't even have to be accomplishments, just like what happened to you? How did you survive it? I would also love to know what your intentions for 2025 are, or if there's a particular word of the year that you have that you're going to focus your energy and your excitement on. Here's a journaling prompt that I would love to share with you. What intention feels most aligned with the version of yourself that you want to keep becoming in 2025? What intention do you have for the year that is the most aligned with who you want to become or keep becoming in 2025. There you have it. All right, next episode, I am going to talk about my dream guests. I have kind of a little list that I put together. They might be some really weird names to y'all on here, but I have a list I put together. I'm going to talk about my dream guests, and then I have some exciting interviews coming up. I'm recording one tomorrow and next week, and I'm super excited to bring on some other peeps onto the podcast. All right. Thank you so much. As always, incredibly grateful for all of you listeners, and embrace the dark and the light. Thank you for being part of the Happy Rebel podcast community. Stay connected with us on Instagram at Happy Rebel. If you've enjoyed our episodes, please consider rating, liking, and reviewing the podcast. It truly does help us grow. Until next time, this is Kelly Street. Remember, embrace the dark and the light.